T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, own it, own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Happy Friday, family, TGIF, and welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 wrestling show on the planet, women's wrestling show on the planet. I'm GB, Gerard Bonner, the professor, and this is the Friday edition of WWT Live. I hope you guys are doing well. Before we kick things off, make sure you're sharing this in all of the spaces. Let people know that you are rocking with us here at WWT Live, as we have a whole lot we're going to talk about on the eve of a massive weekend in the world of pro wrestling. Thankfully, I am not alone. I am joined by the Blue Magic one. It's Blue. What's going on, brother?
What's going on? What's going on? It's great to be back on a Friday. I got a 3-day weekend. I can't wait.
A 3-day. What do you got planned for the weekend, brother?
So me and my wife is actually going to be celebrating Valentine's Day on Sunday. So
very nice.
We're looking forward to that. Tomorrow's my daughter's birthday. We're going to go bowling.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, like I said, I had back-to-back birthdays. Like my son's birthday was like 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. My daughter's birthday is tomorrow. 2 weeks from now is my birthday.
Yeah.
2 weeks after that is my daughter's first birthday. It's just
good Lord.
Ain't my birthday no more. It's everybody else's birthday but mine's, apparently.
I completely relate. That sounds like my Decembers. My mom's birthday starts the month, and then you have Christmas. Right after Christmas, 2 days after Christmas is my dad's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Then the following day is my daughter's birthday. 2 days after that is my wife's birthday. Yeah. So I completely, I feel.
I don't know why they bunch up like this. It's like a whole year that you can spread out. But
listen, we could space this out, but instead they choose to just hit us all in one time.
Just share this on the social real quick. If you do the same, if you're in the chat.
Absolutely. Share this on the socials, because we've got quite the conversation leading into, of course, two big events that are happening this weekend. And so there's a major piece of news kicking things off. And for this, we're going to go. Yes, we are going off the top rope. All right, Blue, share with us our first story of the day. It's a big one involving the tribal chief.
Yeah, so today, I don't have the article in front of me, so I'm just going to go ahead and swing it. It is 900 days and counting for the tribal chief as your Universal / WWE champion. Mm-hmm. Is a monumental. When the last time has this happened? I don't know. Like, I'm thinking back in like Bruno Sammartino days.
Yeah.
So this is like what? Counting like 300. Wait, 3 years, right? 3 years.
This is we're getting close to 3 years. To put this in context, he actually won the championship back at Payback 2020.
Jeez.
Yeah, late August 2020 is when he won the title in a triple threat match. It was like the week or so after SummerSlam, where he beat Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. And just to think about all that's happened in those 900 days, both of those guys have left the company,
came back,
or I should say were fired from the company, then brought back. Geez, a lot has happened. And to your point, it's the 5th longest reign in WWE Championship history. Like you have to start talking about Bruno Sammartino. You have to start talking about Hulk Hogan. You have to start talking about Pedro Morales. Like these names that aren't very popular names as champions in the modern era, for sure. Right. So you got to go back that far. This is something very, very special. Roman Reigns. So let me ask you. Obviously, we've got Elimination Chamber tomorrow night, and we'll get into our predictions in a little bit. But how much longer do you think Roman Reigns holds the world championship?
If you know me, then you know my response off the bat. Like, this has gone way too long.
Oh, wow. Oh, you think it's been too long? Okay.
It's been going on a little bit. It's way too long. I'm not a big fan of putting both titles on one person.
Okay.
I enjoyed the Tribal Chief storyline. I enjoyed the Bloodline storyline. But to me, I feel like for those almost 3 years, at least a year and a half of it is left with people with nothing to do. You know what I mean? Like,
really?
Like in terms of the main roster, what do you really fight for anymore? Like to face Roman to get rolled over? Like he's unfaced everybody already. So to me, this is a bit longer than I would like it. But again, I'm enjoying the storyline part of it. I just think it sucks that the titles are all tied up into this one group. I've never been a fan of it. But if you really gonna do it for anybody else, I can't really think of like maybe Cena could have had a chance of doing the same thing. But other than that, who do you really see in the modern day era to pull this off but Roman?
Well, and that's the thing, given all that's happened. I mean, think about it. Payback 2020, we were in the Thunderdome. Right? Like we were in that era where the pandemic era where we had no fans and things of that nature. Shout out to JD in the chat who says I'd have him hold it until SummerSlam and have a rematch with Cody. And then he says I'd like to see Cody chase it a little longer. So for JD, let's run this thing a bit longer. I think what people tend to forget is, and it seemed like it's been forever, he just unified those championships at WrestleMania last year. So prior to that, we did have two champions, though Roman has been the most consistent thing that we've seen on our television since then.
It was put together in 2022?
Yeah. WrestleMania last year, because that's what, just to show you how long a year has been, right?
When it comes to WWE, I'm like the worst person to talk to about this because I have all these kind of thoughts in my head that people probably don't agree with. But that's because for the most part, they just like discarded the WWE title and it didn't really matter as much as a Universal title, in my opinion. So you kind of like.
And I wonder if that had more to do with who was holding it versus the actual lineage of the championship itself, because the Universal title isn't really that old.
No. I think it's more so about, again, who's holding the title and who they find as the face of the company. We've seen that multiple times. If there's somebody that they like holding the title, they're gonna do everything they can to make sure everybody know that's champion and make sure they're untouchable. If they don't like you, they're just gonna like, all right. We've seen like Punk spoke about it. A few people spoke about it. You be champion and you're just like in the middle of the card somewhere, just fluttering away with the title. So it's interesting.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Punk, and I think one of the things that I do agree with that Punk has said has been whoever the world champion is should ultimately main event the show, and should be the main guy or girl. The question is then, have they been giving the world championship to the right person if they are sticking them in the middle of the card? So in this case, where we have Roman as the champion, Roman has legitimately been the main event for the last 3 years.
Right.
I mean,
so is there a point to have two world champions then?
which is why they combined them.
Right. Exactly.
It's why they combined them.
That's why I said, like, that's why we tend to forget that he recently just combined them, because for the longest, Universal title was just running the shows.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and plus it was on SmackDown, which SmackDown being on Fox was the show that was getting much more attention.
The new flagship show.
Right, exactly. All that money that went behind it. So the timing of all of that, I mean, think about this. It was October of 2019 when SmackDown debuted on Fox.
Right.
And then it was August of 2020 when Roman became champion. And what people forget amid all of that is that Roman sat out that WrestleMania. because of
Yeah.
COVID
Yep.
and, you know, his concerns about the cancer diagnosis, et cetera, et cetera. So he literally came back and we didn't even know he was coming back.
Right.
So to come back in the way
New
that he
teeth
came
and
back,
everything.
new teeth, Paul Heyman, like all of these things, and the way he has developed. And I think for everybody who is kind of tired of the Roman piece, one thing we can say is it hasn't been the same old thing for the last 3 years. We have seen development in Roman and in the things around him in ways unlike we've seen Roman Reigns presented ever before.
Right.
So yeah, so according to you, you think it should be over soon, the world title reign for him?
Yeah, I think, you know, but here's a problem. Who do you do it with? Do you let Cody pull the trigger with Cody? Do you pull the trigger with Sammy? Do you pull the trigger with Jay? I've been advocating for Jay Uso. That's the circle story for me. Like, it started with Jay when he took the title reign, and it should end with Jay. Jay got his brother and his brothers now, and he got Sammy back in him. Like, this would be the perfect time to let Jay close out what he started. But
and it's interesting because I don't think that we've talked about this on this show, but one of the parting images last week on SmackDown was hearing Sammy say to Jay Uso, "I acknowledge you."
Yep.
I feel like seeds were planted there. And I don't know what this turns into. I don't know if it turns into a space where we have, you know, Sammy versus Jay. I don't know if it's Jay versus Roman for the title or for the tribal chief piece. I don't know. But as I often say, when there are lots of questions in terms of what could happen, that always serves to be a good thing, you know, because that means you can't predict where things are going. So, yes, Boza tells us that today is day 901. So he says they need to end it if they want to improve Raw. It's hard to book 3 hours of Raw with no WWE champion. That's interesting. They've certainly tried to make the U.S. title the flagship there on Monday Night Raw. But I will say this, in the absence of the WWE championship, specifically over the last month or so, I'd say what's been going on with the women and the women's championship certainly has, you know, they've been going off the air with those kinds of things, which has been really, really big. So that's cool. Boza also says, I'm nervous how they may book night 1 of Mania with Cody versus Roman will be the last thing we have at Mania. You know, again, it's hard to tell. It is really hard to tell.
Are we confirmed for 2 nights of WrestleMania again?
Oh, definitely. It's definitely 2 nights of WrestleMania.
This would be very interesting.
Well, and here's the crazy part. Over the last number I saw was over 54,000 tickets were sold for both nights of Mania. Wow. Without an official match being announced,
card or anything.
Without a card or anything. So that is pretty crazy. So I'm one. I mean, since we're talking Roman, does it make sense to just go headlong into our Elimination Chamber predictions, or
we can?
I mean, we're here.
Out with it.
So
let's go. We here. Let's go. Let's go.
I mean, we're here. I mean, you want to close out? We can close with it.
No, we here. Let's go.
All right, we're here. All right, so let's talk about these specific Elimination Chamber, and then we'll end with the other event that's going on. That makes sense. Yep. So Elimination Chamber is happening this weekend. Of course, we talked about Roman Reigns. He will be defending the undisputed Universal Championship against Sami Zayn. We also have Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. We've got a mixed tag with Edge and Beth Phoenix against Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. And then we have 2 Elimination Chamber matches. On the women's side, it's Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Asuka, Natalya, and Carmella, all fighting to determine who will take on Bianca Belair at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship. And then there is the U.S. Championship Elimination Chamber match. Austin Theory, Seth freaking Rollins, Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Montez Ford. Let's get some of your predictions for what we'll see happen this weekend, Blue.
I guess we can start off with, let's see, Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. I find this very interesting because this is a match we've been calling for like the longest. Even during the Vince McMahon's era, they've teased it. We've seen what they did with Bobby and Brock, and a lot of people was not happy. But leading into the second one, I still feel like Brock is gonna go over again. I don't really see Bobby winning this one. How do you feel about that one?
Interestingly enough, I actually think it's going to be a no contest. I think it's going to
Okay.
be a no contest because I feel like this match has to happen at Mania. I
Mm,
don't feel like the magnitude of these two guys, not a knock to Elimination Chamber, but their first match was at the Royal Rumble last year, 45,000 people.
right.
Then they were at Crown Jewel in November, 50,000 people.
Right.
This would be the smallest audience they've ever fought in front of. And to me, the match is too big. So I think
In a
it
regular
becomes
match, just a singles match.
right. I think it's a no contest or some sort of
Run it
double
back.
count out or something where they can't contain them that has to go to Mania. And to me, it's Mania, Hell in a Cell. Let's settle this the right way.
Yeah, I really hope so, and I really hope they do right by Bobby because the way they've been setting it up, it doesn't look like it's going to be in his favor. Like we said, we didn't enjoy how they handled it last year. I get it that is Brock, but Brock actually want to work with Bobby Lesnar, so Bobby Lashley. So hopefully, I'm praying because that's one of my guys. I love Bobby,
Yeah.
and I love Brock. So this is a match I'm really looking forward to.
Okay. What other predictions do you have?
The mixed tag match,
Mhm.
I could see Edge and Beth Phoenix probably pull that off.
Mhm.
Judgment Day, I don't know. Is it me or they be outside of Dominic and Rhea? I feel like Balor and Priest is just like playing second fiddle to everything they're doing.
Well, here's the crazy part. When they formed last year, at the time it was just Edge and Priest,
Right.
and I loved the chemistry that Edge brought to the table. But what's so interesting to me is I think Rhea and Dom becoming the stars was completely unexpected,
Yeah.
completely unplanned. And I think it's in some way actually helped Finn and Priest, who haven't necessarily had the greatest personalities per se. They've been great in ring, but personality wise haven't been the biggest draw. So I think it actually works. They end up doing the heavy lifting ultimately, even
Right.
though obviously Rhea can hold her own. And somehow Dominic Mysterio, nobody saw Dominic getting over the way he's getting over. Like
No.
nobody. I think we all saw when he was with Ray, it was like, okay, finally time to break away. But when you break away, like we're not going to be talking about you. Boy, were we wrong. We were so wrong.
Yo, it's just hilarious. Like it seems like every holiday we're just waiting to see if they're gonna pull up to the Mysterio's house. What are they gonna do?
And they always do something extremely entertaining. I mean, that's kind of brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, your thoughts on speaking of the women's chamber match.
I don't know if I want to see any of them versus Bianca to be Asuka. Okay, Asuka,
Okay.
I'll give you Asuka. Hopefully they letting Asuka be. I haven't been watching it week to week for Raw, but I hope and pray they're letting Asuka be Asuka and not letting her be doing this dancing comedy bit they had her doing before. They giving us real Asuka and versus Bianca in the chamber. I mean in the WrestleMania. I'm totally down for that. I feel like they screwed Asuka out of her chance when she went to WrestleMania against Charlotte. It's a streak versus the title. This is a great chance for her to bounce back from that. I think Bianca has served her time as champion. She did as much as she can. She deserves some time off and do some outside stuff and come back. Oh, you're not a fan of that?
No. I was my son is making.
Oh, okay.
But
I feel like Asuka definitely could, come in and, take some load off of Bianca because she's been carrying this division for so long right now.
The funny part is you mentioned, well, I agree. I think Asuka is the leading favorite to win that chamber match. I really don't see anybody else doing it. But here's the problem. To me, after this past Monday, when Bianca beat Becky and Bayley in a triple threat match, which to me was a WrestleMania worthy match, I don't feel like there's anybody on the Raw roster who can defeat Bianca at this point, even if it is the new Asuka.
Right.
So to me, I say this, I would like to see Bianca set up to become the longest running Raw Women's Champion ever. At this point, she's over 300 days. The only person ahead of her right now is Becky at 398 days, which pushes us to say SummerSlam-ish around that time. So to me, I say let's make history. Bianca's still hot. She's undefeated at WrestleMania. I think it just makes sense. If Asuka were stronger right now, then I could go with it. But after that match, no, I think it's Bianca all day.
Yeah, but do we run the same thing that we're running for Roman for Bianca now?
Well, 400 days and 900 days
Oh
are
yeah,
two
but
very different things.
of course.
And I don't know that to your point about Roman, the question is who is strong enough right now to hold that title. I thought Rhea was, but Rhea chose Charlotte.
Right.
So
didn't make
that's
sense at all.
yeah. So I'm just like,
Well, I kind of get why they did that because
sure, there's a story there.
Well, yeah, the story there, but like in terms of like just in general, I see what they did. I don't think they were ready for Charlotte to be champion yet, and that kind of was rushed. So they was like, all right, let's just So we'll see if this is a possibility that Rhea takes over SmackDown and Judgment Day go over to SmackDown. I guess they could use that shot in the arm over there at SmackDown with that kind of combination. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I just want to again. I don't want to see Asuka lose again at WrestleMania. Like that's just my thing.
I get it. I get it. That's what makes this tough because I think tough Asuka and this version of Bianca is amazing. Boza says that Judgment Day has prolonged Dominic's career. I think it's done more than prolong it. I think it has given him a new lease on life.
Right.
Which I think is great. And he says Bianca's reign has been 20 times better than Roman. She has done more matches than Roman. In 2022, he's only done a dozen matches. I think the difference between a Bianca reign and a Roman reign is I think Roman's reign is more indicative of what we saw classic champions do.
Right.
When I say classic champions, I'm going back to the Ric Flairs and even the Hulk Hogan's, dare I utter his name.
Right.
The fact that those champions didn't defend their titles every week because they had the cachet where they didn't have to, so that when you saw you had to go to the pay-per-view to see those guys. Bianca, I think, in my opinion, is reestablishing herself in this reign. I think a lot of people had questions with her first SmackDown title reign, and it was because she was young. We certainly didn't like how that reign ended, that's for sure.
Right.
And so at this reign, she's having better matches than she had before. She's establishing herself as one of the top draws in the company, male or female. So it's kind of hard to compare those two reigns because of where they are in their careers. Roman being in this well over 10 years versus Bianca's 5, different things to prove at this particular point. But I certainly get what you're saying there, Boza. With that.
And definitely we got a chance to see Bianca. For me, I've been a Bianca fan for since she stepped his foot in the ring. So to watch her growth from NXT to get here, and this is why I really wanted this Bianca versus Ripley match, because it's like if you know from the history from NXT to when they got to the main roster together, that's honestly that's Triple H versus Rock right there in my opinion,
for sure.
In terms of career. So I would have loved to see that go down. Hopefully we get it in the future because
I think we're definitely going to get it. I feel like they're saving it for something. I don't know what for, but they're saving it for something.
But my thing is they always saving stuff and then they run the risk of missing out on it. Like see what happened with Sting and Undertaker.
Well,
you see what happened with Triple H and The Rock.
I'm having more faith in Triple H right now than I am in the previous regime. Right. Yeah, so we'll see. Speaking of that, who do you think's taking the U.S. title in the Elimination Chamber match?
Honestly, the only person I really could see coming out of there is Austin Theory, unless they want to give Montez Ford a shot in the arm and start, heading towards the doom that we all are trying to prevent, which was, them trying to end the Street Profits. Other than that, Austin Theory, he's been different in the sense of he's really starting to click on the main roster. Johnny Gargano still trying to find his footing. Bronson Reed just came back. Damian Priest, again, he's playing second fiddle in Judgment Day. I don't really see him winning a championship right now. So it's going to be interesting. I see either Austin Theory or Montez Ford.
Interesting. I think Seth Rollins is a contender for sure, but there are a lot of ifs about that, right?
His thing, he don't want to be U.S. champion. He's made that very known that he does not want to be the champion.
So it's a tough space for Seth, I think, because obviously you're going into Mania with some potential thoughts of some potential challengers for him.
Right.
So I don't know. Again, with there being more questions than answers and multiple options, I think it's a good thing. And I think it's unfortunate that we forget that just a couple of years ago, Damian Priest was an amazing U.S. champion. So it's kind of crazy that we're in that space. Boza says, I get either Austin or Gargano winning. The only way the U.S. title changes hands is if they don't want to put it on the line with the rumored match with Theory and Cena, which to me, you don't want to put the U.S. title on the line against a part-timer like Cena, because we saw what happened when Cena fought at SummerSlam, right? We knew he wasn't going to win the championship from Roman. So there's that. Our boss is here. Hey, TK. Good to see you. We are behaving.
We are following the guidelines.
We are following the rules. So that leads us, of course, to the championship match. Of course, tonight's going to be a big episode of SmackDown in Montreal. I think they're going to blow the roof off for Sammy tonight and tomorrow. The question is, does Sammy leave the chamber tomorrow night as the pay-per-view as the undisputed champion?
No. It's not happening.
I saw what you did there.
This is gonna be. We know WWE's track history. If you're at home, you're losing. That's just a given. And honestly, again, he just hit 100 days. And we know we don't. For me, I feel like the storyline is gonna end up being Usos versus Sammy and KO at WrestleMania. I don't see Sammy near the title picture. So I was hoping for Jay, but I'm pretty sure they're going to tie them up all in that situation. I think tomorrow night is where Jay show his loyalty to his cousin and follow the tribal chief down this hallway of despair.
There are so many thoughts, and it's funny. I mean, we'll get to some things when we get to our vintage wrestling facts and things, but one of the things about this Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which is interesting, Boza had an interesting point. He said, Elimination Chamber on paper wasn't that good if Brock versus Bobby 3 is here. I'm not sure I fully agree with that, but we'll see. But he says, to be honest, if this was just for the Universal Championship, I think most people would give Sammy a chance. But since both belts are on the line, Roman is winning hands down. And then
even the WWE title that we just talked about, they don't care about anymore. They just put that on them, like give them a feel good moment at home. But both titles, nah.
Well, so that's the thing, right? And history is a funny thing. History is a funny thing. The future is a funny thing, and the unspoken mix in all of this is Triple H. What Triple H has a true wrestling mind, is connected to the fans. And I don't, so this is what makes this so unpredictable. I think back to 2004, nobody gave Eddie Guerrero a chance to win the world title at the No Way Out pay-per-view in February against Brock Lesnar. On paper, there was no way it was going to happen. And then it happened in California, which could be deemed home turf for Guerrero in that whole area, given all that they've done there. We've seen a number of spaces where this middle pay-per-view between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania upset the apple cart. And I think perhaps unlike any other time, somebody as hot as Sammy right now, one of two things can happen. Obviously, they could pull the trigger and he could win it. Or we could see them go down the road that we saw, almost 9 years ago. No, it was 10 years ago. No, it was 2014. 9 years ago with Daniel Bryan. 4 years ago with Kofi Kingston, where this one kind of delays things and makes it look like WrestleMania isn't going to happen, and somehow WrestleMania does.
But here's the point to that. When the thing happened with Daniel Bryan and the thing happened with Kofi Kingston, that's because the people really, really pushed for it. Are the people going to really push for Sammy to be put in the title picture at WrestleMania the way they pushed for Kofi Kingston, the same way they pushed for Daniel Bryan?
There's a very weird push happening right now. And I think it's what's different, I think, about Kofi and Daniel Bryan is at that time, both of them very clearly had full fan support. And the other people that they were trying to push did not. The interesting thing here is you have Sammy and Cody, who both have strong support right now. And so I think even
don't forget my small army of Jey Uso. Come on,
well, there's Jey Uso. So that's the thing. You have potentially 3 different people who could be in the title picture conceivably for WrestleMania. with 2 nights as well.
Two
It's not an
nights.
impossibility that they make Roman defend on 2 different nights. There are enough scenarios that could happen with that. So that makes this unpredictable. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited. Again, Elimination Chamber goes down tomorrow night, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern on the WWE Network on Peacock. Now, there are a few other stories. Oh, go ahead.
I had a question. So the
Yes.
Cody match, is that for the undisputed WWE Universal title, or is it
That
just
is
for
currently what they are saying. It is for
Universal
the
title?
it is for both currently. Now, anything could happen between now and then. So
Also trying
who
to
knows?
tease like a triple threat between Cody, Sammy, and Roman. I don't know if I like that.
Well, think about this. I believe it was 2 years ago where we had the triple threat between Daniel Bryan, Edge, and Roman for the Universal Championship. So
Yeah.
not an impossibility.
Stack him in
That's what he did. He stacked him. He certainly did. All right. So, we have a few places we could go with this. Let's go to the Kota Ibushi story because this is a very interesting story. You want to tell them about Kota Ibushi?
Yeah, so as everybody knows, Kota Ibushi has recently departed from New Japan Pro Wrestling after a very interesting year or so of bad promo, bad production, I guess, like bad relationship between the two. So now everybody's speculating with where Kota Ibushi can show up. Can he show up in AEW? Can he show up at Impact? Is he coming to WWE? Well, recently he spoke to who was it on Dark Puracio Florison?
Yeah.
In terms of switching company, and Kota Ibushi basically said if WWE allowed him to train and create the next generation of wrestlers at the Performance Center, among having some high-profile matches, he would really consider working with WWE. If anybody remembers, Kota Ibushi did have a little stint in WWE during the Cruiserweight Classics, where him and Cedric Alexander put an amazing match together. If you ever had a chance, go back and watch that. I go back to watch that at least once a year. That match was amazing. So that's interesting to hear him say that. I don't know if they'll let him go train people at the Performance Center, but that's a very interesting stipulation that he would put in his contract. So it'd be interesting to see how that works out.
You're right. It'd be extremely interesting. Shout out to a Wrestling Realm in the chat. What's going on, good family? And JD says this Kota chap looks like a manga hero. Kota Ibushi is incredible. He's incredible. And as Blue said, you need to go back and watch him in the Cruiserweight Classic. A lot of us thought during that time that he was the odds-on favorite and thought that we were going to get Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr. in the finals, which is what it was supposed to be. It was leaning that way.
Yep.
And so we haven't seen Kota don the WWE shores since then. The idea of Kota Ibushi training, can you imagine Kota getting his hands on these folks in the Next in Line program? Holy cow.
Yeah, if they make it.
Well, if they make it. And so that'd be listen, if you say Kota Ibushi is training folks in WWE, that's a game changer, I think. It's a game changer, if they're able to pull that off. Let's see. Boza says it's not the first time that NXT Japan was rumored to happen. Supposedly Kairi Sane went home in 2020 to launch that a couple of years ago. Yeah, I'm not sure where they are on the NXT Japan space right now. Ed says, I'm not sure Kota fits in WWE, but I'd like to see him training at New Japan Strong Dojo or in NXT. One of the things he did say was he wanted to open his own wrestling school. So whether that happens in New Japan, if it happens in WWE, who knows? But certainly a very, very interesting space there. So let's go to this piece here, because the Super Bowl.
You don't have to say yes.
The Super Bowl was Sunday.
Oh my!
And
gosh.
A lot of people have had a lot to say, but Blue, tell us about what a certain someone had to say about the halftime show.
First of all, again, if you know me, you know I'm a huge Rihanna fan. Like that's my I've loved Rihanna since Raising in the Sun, Dancing in the Sun, like that her first album. So apparently Goldberg is not a fan, and he wasn't a fan of her Super Bowl performance because he was on some car. I'm not even gonna say the podcast. He said, "I thought Rihanna was freaking horrible. I was disgusted by it. Let's just say that." And they continue on and said it was kind of boring. And it's like, that's the understatement of the year. I thought it was disgusting. And when they did praise the person that was singing the national anthem, where Goldberg's like, he didn't grab his crotch every 15 seconds or made it about himself. And you know, the usual hatred for people that, you know, add some flavor to music. It's just, dude, you wasn't that great of a wrestler. You want to talk about horrible performances? You hold the most in wrestling history, and you want to talk about somebody performing? Come on, bro. Let's not do this. Let's not do that.
Yeah, Goldberg's lucky I don't have our heel of the day video, because certainly he would classify and qualify for that. Shout out to Jeffrey in the chat who says Goldberg has no place
whatsoever.
Performances. Now wait, JD. Now I don't know what to do with this comment, JD.
What?
Goldberg is the Rihanna of wrestling. I'm not fully sure of what to do with that particular comment. Ed says that I wasn't in love with the Rihanna performance, but it wasn't too bad. So here's my take on the whole thing. Bill Goldberg. You were very fortunate. You want to talk about right place, right time. You were right place, right time. You had a look that wasn't even original. As a matter of fact, you ran the same look as the biggest star in the world, that being Stone Cold Steve Austin. You had a 3-move set, and you could argue that it might have really been 2. Then from there, let's talk about your greatest hits, Mr. Goldberg. How about we didn't like your performance when you retired Bret Hart.
Facts.
We didn't like your performance when you had the worst WrestleMania match in history. Cue up WrestleMania 20 against Brock Lesnar.
Facts.
We didn't like your performance when you nearly killed the man who was supposed to be dead over in Saudi Arabia. That is The Undertaker. We haven't really liked your performance as much at all. I don't know that we can cite we can't cite a great Goldberg match. So my thing is this: if we don't come to you, sir, for wrestling opinions, the last thing we're going to do is come to you for a pop culture opinion. Not the way to go. And I'll say this very, very carefully. Goldberg, what you said was borderline coded. It was borderline coded. And so I just say, Goldberg, yeah, keep that to yourself, sir. I've got no problem with you, having your own specific taste in music. We all have our own taste in music. But yeah, and I actually held back on that one.
Yeah, no, you gotta keep it PG. But to this dude right here, JD, listen, I'm a defender. I told you I'm a Rihanna fan. If you've never seen Rihanna perform live, you cannot judge that performance at Super Bowl because one, she was pregnant.
Wait. Let me read this for the people who are listening. So JD said that phones it in, making comparisons to Goldberg being the Rihanna of pro wrestling. He says he phones it in, looks bored, never created anything. Any hits he had, it was because of someone else. Goldberg equals Riri for the sake of snobbery. I still can't tell if he's being serious or not.
He's not being serious. Okay, I'm about to say. Have you not heard of Fenty?
Wait a minute.
Understand why she's a billionaire right now?
Wait, I was gonna say Goldberg's. Rihanna's a billionaire,
right?
Goldberg is not.
Stuff. Wait a minute. But for anybody that haven't seen Rihanna perform, first of all, she had Allen Gals. Okay, so she parties. She bring the party on the stage. I've seen her live, and the whole stadium was just a party. So that performance at Super Bowl was very mild for her, and it's because she was pregnant. Let's be honest. And even then, she did a little something. But if she could really do it, trust me, it would have been done. If you've seen her perform at other places, you know how she gets down. So
On top of that, she's a pregnant woman who was hundreds of feet in
Right.
the air.
Who's trying to move up
okay?
there? I
Hello.
was scared for her. I was like, yo, y'all need to put her down.
When I saw that she was pregnant, I was extremely nervous because if you're not pregnant, I'm nervous about being that high.
Right.
And she did most of her performances
Just
that
didn't-
high. How much movement are you doing, pregnant or not, that high in the air?
Right.
So for me, I'm just like a pregnant woman performing that long. I don't know how long she had to rehearse, but I'm clear you didn't just wake up one morning and say, hey, we're going to have these stages floating in the air and I'm going to be on there and I'm only going to do it in one take. Folks who
Right.
don't know music don't understand. You don't do things like that in one take.
Nah.
It's
She was a diamond in the
impossible.
sky, literally.
Literally, you know, I mean, so I'm just sitting here saying Goldberg, his statement again, it's okay to have different music preferences. I got
Right.
no problem with that. But to disrespect a person's performance and call it trash because
Right.
it's not your cup of tea
Right.
is problematic because Goldberg had one speed and he just happened. You put Goldberg in another era, as his run in WWE proved, he couldn't cut it. He got lucky, and I'm saying it publicly. He got
Right.
lucky with his
Right.
run in WCW because he got on a moving train.
Right.
Anybody on a moving train is going to roll well.
And guess what?
You
When
know?
that train started derailing, he couldn't put it back on either.
That part. when the NWO lost speed and WCW went through its problems, that's when Goldberg really couldn't do much. So
Obsolete.
I literally, and I mean,
Obsolete.
his run in WWE was forgettable.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm good on that.
I'm mad. He messed up Brock Lesnar's legacy a bit with that one. I'm glad Brock came back and
I mean, Brock needed to come back because that was not a good space.
that was not
that
a
was-
good ending.
Not a good ending at all. Okay, so let's go to this interesting story because there's a name change on the horizon. If you've not heard about this, are you familiar with this Ava story?
I've seen bits and pieces, but you go ahead and kick it off.
So The Rock's daughter, Ava Raine, of course, had a name change. The initial name change was to Ava Raine. She joined
Right.
Schism. But then on the WWE website, her name is officially changed again from Ava Raine to Ava. So it's not new that people will lose their last names in WWE folklore. It's happened before. Recently, we've seen people gaining their names back.
Right.
Perhaps
Mm.
what's most notable here is all that Ava has been able to do in terms of staying in conversation without having yet a match on NXT television. But what she's doing in Schism is still something that is fairly notable. So we've got a name change. I guess the big question will be, when does Ava end up in the ring? And I'm sure
Right.
the answer will be whenever she's ready, because that's when I'd prefer to have her in the ring
Facts.
versus rushing her in at any other time.
We don't need
Okay.
to follow the footsteps of her cousin.
Oh boy. Oh boy, you almost got me on that one. Well, we're gonna dig into the box because again, this guy keeps bringing himself out of the box no matter how many times we try to put him in the box.
You can talk
And
about
of
this one
course-
too.
You leave it to me. We're talking about the Nature Boy Ric Flair,
Oh my
who
gosh.
stays in the news. And so now Ric Flair, if we haven't seen him enough, you might be seeing him some more because he is teasing the potential of a new reality show. He wants to do a new reality show. And as part of this, he actually wants his wife, Wendy, to be part of a rumored show that's called The Housewives of Wrestling. So we've seen the housewives of all the different cities.
Right.
Well, apparently there's talk that Fox and Netflix are potentially looking at picking up this show. And if that's the case, some of the names involved in this reel, the sizzle reel, apparently are part of it. That includes Randy Orton's wife, Kurt Angle's wife, Jake Hager's wife, and potentially Ric Flair's wife, Wendy. So this is interesting. They're not sure if Karen Jarrett's going to be a part of it or not, but he would love for Wendy to be a part of this, and I don't know if that's the case. Like,
First of all, you're not even wrestling no more. So why would you want your wife to be part of any reality show? And
the check. That's why.
Right, but it's
The
my
check.
thing is like if it's. I don't know how else to touch this. It's like my man's like, so you can't get on TV no more. So you trying to get your wife on TV so you can get some clout. Is this how it's working right now? Like,
listen,
man,
Flair is like anything in my house will draw money. That's kind of where he is.
Walking, and you know he's gonna be mad extra. They're gonna be shooting at the house. He's gonna be walking by his drawers or something like. He's gonna be mad extra.
Well, JD,
Space Mountain and all that stuff. Like,
I'm actually nervous for what else we could find out about Flair, because in those spaces they really want the salacious things, and
right.
I think
we've had enough.
We've had enough. JD, a hilarious comment. He says the man's ears are practically touching his shoulders. It's time to retire the boy in his nickname. That's pretty hilarious. Boza says, if you believe anything Nate says, he says, plus it would be only one wife of a WWE superstar. Kim and Giovanna had a podcast called Wives of Wrestling that they stopped doing, so the timing would make sense if it were true. So that all sounds very, very interesting. We will see. Certainly the housewives of wrestling would make for a very interesting documentary.
I actually would enjoy that if it was people that actually wrestle wives. Well, I don't see why we need Kurt Angle's wife in there. I don't see why we need Nature Boy McFair wife in there.
It could be interesting. Like, I mean, I'm sure there are stories we could learn from them. I don't know. I guess it would really depend on what's happening with these wives. Like, are we paying more attention to the wives or the wrestler?
How to be a wife to a wrestler? Like,
well, I mean, that's different than being an average wife. I mean, and let me
avoid these lawsuits. Like,
let me be clear. When I say average wife,
right,
I mean a wife of an entertainer versus a wife of somebody who works in a regular 9 to 5, because there are very different parameters. I just want to be very, very, very clear about that. Okay, so let's move really quickly to our vintage wrestling facts. I don't have the super cool entrance video for that, but
I'll put it in the Dropbox, Miss Boss Lady, Miss TK. Yeah, put it in the Dropbox.
Let's go back to this day in 1996 because this gets interesting. In Baltimore, Maryland, this guy, the total package, Lex Luger, wins the WCW Television Championship against a guy called Johnny B. Bad. Now, if you don't remember Johnny B. Bad, he would go on to be known as Mark Marrow when he got to WWE. The Johnny B. Bad character was WCW's attempt at giving us Little Richard in pro wrestling. I'm not fully sure how it went over when I say that in terms of how it was received, because we didn't have social media then. So it's really hard to say, but I mean, he won a title, so I guess that means something, right? Speaking of the World TV title, the next year on this particular day, think about how well this one aged. You see Lord Steven Regal. The guy he's fighting is a guy named Prince Iukea.
Prince Iukea.
Yes. This night in 1997, Prince Iukea actually beats Lord Steven Regal for that same WCW World Television Championship. Obviously, we know Lord Regal went on to do some pretty amazing things. I'm not fully sure that we know where Prince Iukea is at this particular point. But
if I know how to spell his name, I would have looked it up. Prince Iukea.
Right.
WCW.
Iukea. Iukea. That's him. Now, while you might be looking that up, I want to point this out because something happened on the exact same night over in WWE. Psycho Sid beats Bret Hart to become the WWE champion. Now, if you followed us earlier this week, a few days ago, we chronicled the idea or the fact that this was when Shawn Michaels lost his smile as the WWE champion. So he gave up the title a few days earlier on that Thursday Night Raw. Then on this Monday Night Raw, Psycho Sid would beat Bret Hart to become the WWE champion. It would be Psycho Sid's second reign. It would only last until WrestleMania that year, which was just another month or so away, where he would lose that title to The Undertaker. Stone Cold Steve Austin would end up fighting Bret Hart in a match that would literally change both of their careers at that particular WrestleMania. But where this is also historic is this is the very first time in WWE history that the WWE title changed on Monday Night Raw. Happened on this night in 1997. Now, this one ages really, really well. The Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, we remember them, right?
Yep.
On this day in 1998, they defeat the Rock and Roll Express. But check this out. They defeat the Rock and Roll Express for the NWA Tag Team Championships on an episode of Monday Night Raw. So before we ever started talking about the Forbidden Door, just wrap your head around this one. Now, granted, this was when the NWA was separate from WCW, though it was still its own separate organization. You had Smoky Mountain that was closely involved with it at that time.
That's why Jim Cornette was there.
Exactly. But the NWA Tag Team Championships being defended, and again, the Rock and Roll Express losing the NWA title in a WWE ring. That's still like amazing.
You know what I found funny is because I actually remember this because I was doing like a thing when I was going back and watching old wrestling. I started from Monday Night Raw from the first episode, and this whole storyline was because Jim Cornette would bring NWA guys in, you know, the Rock and Roll Express, and Jeff Jarrett was the NWA champion at the time, and they would challenge WWE wrestlers, and because the rules are different, it would be hard to adjust. And one of the rules was you can't throw your opponents over the top rope or you get disqualified. And they kept doing that, and they kept getting disqualified until this one night when they finally won the title. And it's just hilarious.
Yeah. No. That's exactly what happened. And people, you know, forget that those used to be the old NWA rules. If you threw somebody over the top rope, it was a disqualification. It made watching the two products very, very different for sure, you know?
Definitely. So I found Prince Iaukea.
Okay.
I found them.
Do tell.
So he was on the indie scenes for a while. After he left WCW, he was in the indie scenes from 2000 into present, because right now, currently, he works in Florida with his son for Pro Wrestling Fusion.
Nice.
New Florida Wrestling, Definitive Wrestling International, and all other independent wrestling in Florida. So apparently he's still working behind the scenes under the name Nick Primo.
Very interesting. How about that? These are the things you find out live on WWT Live. I love it. So that's right, Jeffrey. That was the original Forbidden Door for sure. And Boza reminds us that, yes, those were the old Bill Watts rules that he loved. JR said that that JR hated those rules, and JR absolutely hated those rules. Moving quickly to this day in 2002, a very historic moment, as the original NWO finally debuts or reappears in WWE, since they all had been in WWE previously. Again, 2002, remember 2001, in March of 2001, WCW was purchased by the WWE. And for all of the things we wanted to see in terms of that invasion and the like, these were the three main people we wanted to see. And we did not see them until this day in 2002, which was a whopping 21 years ago.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
This is not the point when Vince brought the poison to.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm old.
Yes.
21 years ago?
21 years ago.
Oh,
and I think our great Ella J was 4, maybe 5. I know they're gonna kill me on that. I already know. But that's crazy. This was the poison that was going to come in and destroy the WWE.
Like, you guys, then turn around and see NWO on the screen.
Yeah,
and we're like, they're not coming next week.
This is that
screen with black and white, and here they come.
This is that. Wait, JD, this is it. I forget. That's right. We were spoiled with Sean Stasiak, and those folks who came in for the invasion from WCW when we really wanted the NWO and Goldberg.
We wanted DDP. We wanted Goldberg.
Yes.
We wanted the top names.
Well, think about it. We did get DDP, but DDP came in as the stalker of the Undertaker, which we did not expect.
He didn't come during the invasion, though. He came after the fact.
It was a little after the invasion.
He wasn't part of the invasion. Like when
no, he wasn't part of that. He was his own.
Yeah, like when they had to
thing.
split up, they had to add Stone Cold to the other side to kind of balance it out. He wasn't part of all of that.
Yeah.
He just came towards the end.
I am loving.
Oh my gosh,
I'm loving how these guys are remembering this. Jeffrey says that was the year the NWO destroyed The Rock with a semi truck. They sure did. And then we got that epic Rock Hogan promo when they announced that they were going to fight at WrestleMania, and the head turns that they did that, people try to mimic to this day. It was incredible. Yes, JD remembers Chronic. Just some real top tier things there from that invasion.
Stars.
Right. Now, on a sadder note, in 2007 on this day, we lost Mike Awesome, who was a former ECW world champion. And you'll remember he actually took the ECW championship onto WCW television during the Monday Night Wars. And that actually led to a historic moment where Taz would end up taking the title off of Mike Awesome. And so it was literally a WWE contracted wrestler in Taz against a WCW contracted wrestler in Mike Awesome, fighting at an ECW event for the ECW world title. And then we would later see that was exactly his punishment. He couldn't even come in through the locker room. He had to come in through the back door. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, we lost him on this day in 2007. And speaking about interesting things that happen at these No Way Out middle pay-per-views, remember 2008? A certain Floyd Mayweather shows up as a guest of Rey Mysterio. And in the ring, of course, is one Paul White, the Big Show, who they get into an altercation. And Floyd Mayweather throws those fists and literally splattered his nose across his face. And I've never seen the Big Show run so fast in my life. Running after Mayweather, it was crazy to see how that happened.
And I think later on, Big Show admits that was his fault. He told Money Mayweather to go ahead and punch him for real. Like, why would you tell a boxer to punch you for real?
Listen, and his hands were so fast, that it took
like 10 punches in like 2 seconds.
It was really crazy. But that unpredictable moment happened on this day in 2008. All of these unpredictable moments that all happened today, I think, could be precursors for perhaps another unpredictable moment that could happen sometime.
He wants him to win this title.
I'm just saying it's not an impossibility. So speaking again of unpredictable moments, this day in 2013, I'm not making it up, The Rock successfully defended the WWE title against CM Punk in the main event of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Strangely enough, 10 years ago today. I think we all wondered if The Rock would lose that match going into WrestleMania to see if we get Rock and Cena 2. He would end up winning the match, leading into Rock Cena 2 for the WWE Championship. Of course, Cena would. Well, they took it's just kind of crazy how all of that would happen. And then I think this is the last one. Oh, no, it's not the last one. We have a couple of others. So another thing happened at the Elimination Chamber on this day in 2019, just a couple of years ago. Some title changes involving those guys from the bloodline. The Usos would end up regaining the tag team championships, the SmackDown tag titles against The Miz and Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon would end up turning on The Miz here, leading to their barn burner of a match at WrestleMania. Also, Finn Balor, who's now, of course, part of the Judgment Day, won the Intercontinental Championship. Can you imagine this?
No more, right?
Well, they don't have a leader, apparently. But yeah. Well, see, here we go.
I thought it was Rhea.
But Finn won the Intercontinental Championship in a handicap tag match against Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. Who would have imagined that? And then on the same night, Bayley and Sasha Banks became the first WWE Women's Tag Team Champions of the modern era, winning that tag team title in an Elimination Chamber tag team title match. Yeah, so I mean, and it was only 4 years ago. Boy, how things have changed in such a short period of time. Well, 2 years ago today, Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes had their gender reveal for their baby on Dynamite, and we found out it was a girl. Who would have ever imagined Lady Liberty? That's right. That a year later they'd be gone from AEW. And 2 years later, potentially Cody Rhodes could be main eventing WrestleMania. Last but not least, on this day in 2021, same day as the Cody and Brandy Rhodes gender reveal, we had Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, who were the women's tag team champions. They made a surprise appearance on NXT to confront the winners of the Dusty Classic. That would be Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. Boy, how things have changed in just a couple of years, as now Gonzalez and Kai are part of SmackDown. Baszler is as well. Nia Jax is no longer with the company. Also on that day, Zoe Stark made her debut in NXT. A lot happens in 2 years, but that's a look at your vintage wrestling facts. All right, with that said, we got to get out of here. Our time is done.
Yep. Kill us with overtime.
Listen, so please don't kill us, TK. We're sorry. Blue, let everybody know how they can reach you, man.
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, the same way, at Blue Magic Grind. Also follow the company at For You're Aware. Some of your favorite podcasters and wrestlers and indie wrestlers are on there from your favorite promotions. We have a big announcement coming in next week with a big signee. So look out for that. And yeah, that's basically it. That's what I'm doing right now. Just running the company and hope to send you some t-shirts.
Awesome. Sounds good. Of course, you could reach me at All Things Bonafide, Southern Honor Wrestling on IWTV, Battle Slam on Fight TV, Nightmare Factory, and Championship District Wrestling on YouTube. So check all of those out. And thank you to everybody who joined us in the chat, Jeffrey and JD and Boza. Wrestle Realm was here. A lot of folks chat super active. TK, as always, thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate you giving us a chance to represent the brand. The brand, of course, is WW Talk Pod, which you can check out, of course, on the socials. They're doing incredible things here on the socials. Check out the website as well. Some great articles and interviews are there as well, www.talkpod.com. All right, we're going to get out of here. Have a great weekend. We've got, I'm sure, a SmackDown after show, Rampage after show. Just pay attention to all things here on this channel. Chambers coming up. Oh, we didn't talk about Battle in the Valley.
It's okay.
Happening tomorrow night.
We'll talk about it on Monday and Wednesday.
That's right. But just know that it is official that it is a double main event. The men's world title and the women's world title are double main eventing that event. So we'll.
And guess who's the first time main eventing?
Mercedes Moné.
Let's
there
go.
It is. All right, we'll get out of here. Thanks for following us. This is Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
T-1 minute.
Wrong outro. This
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.